On today's episode of Knobi Cooks, I have another delicious pizza recipe for you. In this video, you will learn how to prepare a Salmon Gorgonzola pizza. This delicious Bianca style pizza with a cream cheese sauce, red onions, salmon, spinach and gorgonzola is bigger than the sum of its parts. If you enjoy my content, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. To prepare this pizza, you will need salmon, frozen spinach, pizza dough for 2 pizzas, gorgonzola, cream and cream cheese, which I've already prepared. You will need 2 red onions, some garlic cloves, flour, a couple of spices, and 2 baking trays. Have you prepared everything? Good, then let's start baking our pizza. We will start by rolling out our pizza dough. I have already put some flour onto my countertop so the pizza dough doesn't stick to it. If you are a regular viewer, you will know that I'm using my homemade pizza dough. I've made a video tutorial on that, so go check it out if you don't know how to prepare your own pizza dough. It really is worth the effort. For rolling out the pizza dough, take half of it out of the bowl, shape it into a ball and bathe it in your flour. Once the dough is covered in flour, press it down into a rough pizza shape. After that, flatten it out a little bit against the countertop. Next, take a rolling pin and gently roll over your pizza dough. First, do it up and down until the pizza dough has stretched a bit. Then turn your rolling pin by 90 degrees and roll over your pizza dough from the side. Repeat this process until the pizza dough is flattened out enough and has the rough shape of your baking tray. Finally, take the dough, put it into your baking tray and gently stretch it into its final shape. If you don't want to use a rolling pin, that's also fine. If you know how to properly stretch a pizza dough by hand and make it fit into your baking tray, you could also do it that way. I simply show you what I think is the easiest way to go from a lump of dough to a nice pizza shape. After the first half of the dough is now sitting in the baking tray, we will repeat the same process for the second half. And if you haven't already, which you probably don't because I forgot to tell you, turn on your oven. Set it to top and bottom heat, 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit. And then, once you have finished rolling out the second pizza, put both of them into the oven and pre-bake them. Pre-baking is a great way to get an extra crispy pizza. Next up, we will prepare our pizza sauce. For this, in a first step, take your garlic cloves and dice them. Here I would recommend you to go for finer dices. This way they mix more easily into our sauce. Once you are finished with your garlic, take both cream cheese and cream and put them into a measuring cup. Then also add the garlic. Next come our spices and herbs. Add salt, dill and black pepper. I would recommend you to not add too much salt into the sauce, because both salmon and gorgonzola cheese are salty by themselves. I must admit, using cream and cream cheese is simply one of my favorite ways to prepare a white pizza sauce. If you ask me, you can achieve much more variation using a white pizza sauce than using a tomato sauce. That's probably the reason why I've ended up with so many recipes for a white pizza or a pizzabianca. Anyhow, let's get back to the sauce. Once all of our ingredients are inside our measuring cup, we will stir our sauce. First, we want it thoroughly mixed, and once we have achieved that, we also want to whip it up a bit, similarly like you would do it with cream. This way the sauce will get extra creamy, which will prevent it from running off of our pizzas later on. Which is nice, because we all have better things to do than cleaning our baking trays. And now with our sauce done, we can start preparing our toppings. First, we will turn our attention to our red onions. Cut both of them in half, and after that, simply slice them into onion rings. Make sure they are fine enough to be properly cooked in the oven later on. For this recipe we are using red onions because they simply fit better to the other ingredients. After cutting our onions, we will take our spinach. Here I'm using frozen spinach, which I thawed before, and then simply cut across it. We do this so we don't end up with super long strands of spinach on our pizza. It also makes spreading the spinach on our pizzas easier later on. Also, what I forgot to mention, if you are using frozen spinach, make sure to wring it out before you cut it. This way there will simply be less water on your pizza later on. And if you would rather use fresh spinach, well, there is no one stopping you. But maybe you should take a look behind you, just to be extra sure. Next we will cut our salmon fillets. Here I'm using frozen wild salmon, though you can also use fresh one if you prefer that. Take each salmon fillet and first cut it into strips, then turn it by 90 degrees and cut it into rough dices. And once all of our salmon is diced, we can now cut our Gorgonzola cheese. You can cut it in the same way you did cut your salmon before. First cut the cheese into strips and then dice it. I know that the cheese is soft and will probably stick to your blade, but simply try to get as good dices as you can. You can always pull apart the cheese later on. I'm using Gorgonzola cheese from my supermarket. I can usually buy it in two flavors, mild and strong. If you know how Gorgonzola tastes and like the taste, I would recommend you to go for one with a stronger taste. If you have never tried Gorgonzola before, well, then you should start with a milder one, to avoid an unpleasant surprise. That's it, now everything is ready for making our pizza. Take the pizza dough out of the oven. Mine has been pre-baking for roughly 10 to 15 minutes. That's basically how long it took me to prepare all of the toppings and the sauce. Once you have done that, take the sauce and put it on top of both of your pizzas. Try to distribute it as equally as you can, and then spread it with a spoon so that almost all of the pizza, except its rim, is covered in sauce. Next, take the salmon dices and put them on both of your pizzas. Here too, try to spread them as equally as you can. After you have finished putting the salmon dices on top of your pizza, go for the spinach and also spread it on the pizzas. Our penultimate ingredient will be our red onions. While spreading them on both of your pizzas, make sure to press apart the different onion skins. This way each individual skin will cook even better. As soon as there are no more onions to spread, finish the raw pizzas by spreading the Gorgonzola cheese on top. If there are some larger chunks of cheese left, then simply pull them apart before putting them on top of your pizza. And that's basically it. We have now put all of the toppings onto our pizza. If by chance you have taken a look at all of the pizza recipes I have uploaded so far, you may have noticed that I haven't yet posted a video for pizza with plain tomato sauce. That's because I have so many exciting pizza recipes that don't use tomato sauce and which I want to share with the world. However, you can be almost certain that in the future, at some point, there will also be pizza recipes that use tomato sauce. I have a couple of very extraordinary and yet very tasty pizza recipes of that kind in my repertoire. Just to name a few, there's a pizza with bacon and egg, a pizza with real meatballs, and also a pizza similar to the one you see in this video with red onions, walnuts and also gorgonzola. So keep out a watch for these recipes on my channel. Anyhow, as soon as you have placed all of the toppings on your pizza, put them into your oven. Your oven should still be set to 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit, top and bottom heat. And because you have kept your oven on all this time, the pizza can start baking right away. Take a look at your pizza from time to time, and if your oven is similar to mine, maybe swap out the baking trays, so both pizzas get browned to the same degree. And then, after about roughly 15 minutes of baking, turn on the air convection in your oven. All of the ingredients should be cooked by now, and the pizza only needs some browning to be done. I did bake mine for an additional 7 minutes after turning on the convection. However, your mileage may differ. You might like your pizza even browner or less browned, which leaves it up to you at which point you want to take the pizza out of the oven. Speaking of which, I have taken the pizza out of my oven, which leads us to the end of today's episode of Knobi Cooks. I hope you enjoyed this recipe for yet another pizza bianca or white pizza. I simply think salmon, gorgonzola and spinach are a great combination. So why not put them onto a pizza? Sounds like a great idea. Though, tell me how you liked it, and if you have made this pizza yourself, tell me how it tasted. And if you yourself have a great idea for another pizza bianca, let me know down below in the comments. I really do appreciate new recipes. Though that's it from me, I'm Knobi Cooks and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.